I can't really express how fucking glad I am that this year is over. And don't get me wrong, there were good moments. There were laughs, snapshots I'll want to keep, memories I'll probably come back to when things feel lighter. But 2025 was still one of the hardest years of my life. I don't remember another year so far where I was this tired. Not just physically, but deep, bone-level tired. Tired of working non-stop, of dealing with people's bullshit, of constantly being needed, expected, relied on. Tired of not having a single day that felt like it was actually mine. And tired of feeling guilty every time I did stop, like rest was something I had to justify. I moved twice this year, and the second move took me to the other side of the country. And you know, each time I packed my life into boxes, I told myself it was a fresh start. And each time I realized I don't get to leave, you don't get to leave yourself behind just because the scenery changes. I got hurt, both physically and mentally, like I literally broke my ankle. And suddenly, everything slowed down, whether I wanted it to or not. It was frustrated, humbling, a reminder that momentum isn't something you own. It can disappear overnight. I got backstabbed more than once by people I trusted, people I showed up for. And that changes you. It makes you second guess your instincts, your kindness, your boundaries. And then there was the loss that still hurts to say out loud. We had to put down our dog, Malia, and I miss her so much. Some days it still feels wrong that the world keeps going on without her. And somewhere between all of that, the moving, the work, the grief, the exhaustion, I lost pieces of myself. The part of me that writes because I need to, that reads for pleasure, not productivity, that draws, that creates, that feels like me. And if I'm being completely honest, I got very close to quitting everything. There were moments where disappearing felt easier than continuing, where not posting wasn't about lack of time, it was about lack of strength. I didn't know what to say anymore, and I didn't want to pretend I was okay just to stay visible. I went quiet, not because I didn't care, but because I cared too much and had nothing left to give. I stopped recognizing myself for a while, and that might have been the scariest part of it all, because every year kept getting harder, and I finally understood that not liking that wasn't going to make it stop. So this year just needs to be different, not easier, just intentional. Because change doesn't come from wishing, it comes from choosing over and over and over again. If you want something to change in your life, you don't look anywhere else but the mirror. Try that hobby you keep saying you'll start someday. Make time to rest, like real rest, without apologizing for it. Make time to be with your friends, to be with your family. Stop calling your dreams missed chances and start calling them goals you actively work towards. This year also marked 5 years of Writing Nook. 5 whole years. That still feels unreal. That's, what started as small, fragile and uncertain kept growing even when I felt like I was barely holding myself together. There were times I thought about letting it go, times where quitting would have been easier, but Writing Nook stayed. It evolved quietly, persistently, and watching that growth reminded me that not everything meaningful has to be loud. Sometimes growth is not just giving up. Sometimes it's showing up again after you disappear. Sometimes it's choosing to keep something alive even when you're struggling to keep yourself steady. And I'm proud of that. Even if I don't always say it out loud, I am very proud of that. This year I also came back to LARP, and not just as a player this time, though I did have fun at some events, but also as a creator. We're organizing a setting with my husband, and for the first time in a very long time, I feel excited in a way that doesn't really drain me. On the contrary, it feels like remembering who I am, or maybe who I still am underneath all the exhaustion. I don't know what the future will bring. I don't know what I'll have to face or how I'll handle it when it comes. But I do know this. The future isn't later. It's now. It's today. And the tiny things matter more than the big, shiny noise. Consistency matters. Care matters. Choosing yourself matters. You know, like I always like to say, be loud with your actions, not just your words. So yeah, thanks for coming to my TED Talk, I guess. And if you're watching this, including future me, remember this. You're stronger than you think. You've survived more than you give yourself credit for. And it's okay to step back when you're drowning. Finding yourself again is allowed. And I am doing exactly that.